Hi everybody, my name is Rich Frascone. We're having technical difficulties. Please stand by. All right, I got something else I'm trying to get going here. And folks, this is live TV. Okay. All right, how we doing, all right? Hi, everybody. My name is Rich, and I'm happy to be here and talk about live TV. I mean, we just made it. Anyway, I want to welcome you to show number 2. We're live and in color. And today we're going to talk about, primarily we're going to talk about global warming. And, you know, the first thing I want you to do is, you know, we've got Thanksgiving coming up this week. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to pick up your phone and I want you to call that uncle that you know that's going to come to your house on Thanksgiving and drive you nuts when it comes to global warming. So I want you to get on the phone and I want you to call him and I want you to have him watch me because he'll be able to call in live later. Now, this guy that I'm referring to, I'm going to call Uncle Joe. Everybody's got an Uncle Joe. The guy that knows everything about everything. Well, hopefully Uncle Joe will call in and he can talk to Uncle Rich and we can have a nice little educated debate on global warming. I have a little surprise. Just bear with me a second. Just excuse me. Oh, I found a problem, but you have to bear with me. Okay. It won't be a surprise unless it works, so. Anyway, hold on. Okay, we're getting somewhere. All right, so anyway. So, like I said, I have a friend, and his name is Joe, and I'm going to use him as an Uncle Joe reference from now on. So whenever I refer to Uncle Joe, you'll know what I'm referencing and what I'm implying. Now, if you're not calling your uncle, what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to go on the patch. Because on the patch, you'll be able to voice your opinion. You know, there's a little site, we have a small blog going, so you can get on the patch and you can communicate that way. But what we want to do is we want to have an open dialogue. Now, I'm waiting for my surprise to work, so just bear with me. But, come on. It's working. Well, I want this to really be a surprise. You know, we had an election a couple of weeks ago. And because of all the, everything that's being done at the studio, we haven't been on since before the election. So what I wanted to do was, I really wanted to talk to all my Republican friends. And, you know, I know how you feel about the election. I mean, believe me. I mean, what I relished, you hated. But this is the game of life, and this is what we go through. And we're fortunate enough to be live in a country where we can have an election. Talk louder? Okay. Maybe if I turn my, Come on, this is supposed to be working here. All right. Sorry, gang. But anyway, so we went through the election, and I'm sure that there were a lot of people that were stunned. And, you know, before the election, before the first debate, Obama was leading Romney by about 10 points. And of course, the people on Fox, and I think everybody here knows that I love to hate Fox, the people on Fox were saying, the polls are all wrong, they got everything crazy, the polls can't be right. And then the first debate happened. And after the first debate, the polls dramatically changed. And when the polls dramatically changed in Romney's favor, all of a sudden the polls were okay. Well, all the way up until election night, the polls actually had Obama ahead by about 1%. But the Republicans couldn't accept that. They refused to accept that. And the beauty of it was sitting on election night, sitting home with my daughter, who just graduated college, and I couldn't be more proud of her. Sitting there, watching the election, and I said to her, Diana, it's really simple. I said, the country is changing color. Whether you want to admit it or not, we're changing color. As a matter of fact, this year, this is the first time ever that there's been more non-white births than white births in the United States. And so that's significant. And I explained this to my daughter. And I said, things have got to change. It's not the fat old white guys anymore that are running the country. And we've got to take control away from these guys. And these are the people that I call the 1%. And they drive me nuts, and that's the reason why I'm here. I mean, if the money was circulating and if I was still busy making a lot of money, guess what? I wouldn't be here. I mean, the reason why I'm here is because I couldn't find work. I started to find out why I couldn't find work, and what I came upon really distressed me. So anyway, I became active, and like I said, I just wanted to talk to my Republican buddies. So listen, I want you to come over here. I want you to get real close. Judy, get real close to me over here, okay? Because I brought in some things. I just want to make sure that everybody feels okay. All right, guys, listen. No matter how bad things get, there's always a tomorrow. There's always another election. I mean, this ain't the end of the world. Look, I got you a nice teddy bear here. Okay, I got some, I used to call them binkies, but I guess you call them blankies, you know? So I got some nice blankies or crying towels, whichever you prefer. Hey, I got them in multicolors, and you probably need more than one, so anyway. And guess what else I got for you? Swiss Miss hot chocolate. See, we're gonna make everything all right. Uncle Rich is gonna hook you up. Trust me, I tell you, this is good stuff, you know? I buy it at Costco. Yeah, sure they buy stuff at Costco. Like I got $1 million in the bank. Look at this, nice and hot. I mean, come on, guys, come on. Who loves you, huh? Who loves you? Look at that. Gonna make every... And just to show you it doesn't end, Little mini marshmallows. Look at this, huh? Huh? I mean, this will make you... So listen, I mean, worst comes to worst, you know. You're welcome to my teddy bears, my crying towels, my cocoa. You know what I mean? I mean, hey, like I said, everything nice, you know? Take it easy, and we'll get everything straightened out. All right, now, let's get down to business. All right, we're going to move back over here, Judy. All right. Getting back to my buddy Uncle Joe. You know, one thing, when I went to school, and believe me, when I went to school, it was ages ago. And one of the teachers that I most appreciated, that, well, everybody took a liking to him, was a fellow by the name of Mr. Hogan. And Mr. Hogan was nothing special. He was just a down-to-earth guy. And he said, kids, he says, you know, he goes, we're going to spend a lot of time together. And he goes, I'm going to try to teach you a lot. He said, but the most important thing that I can teach you is how to look things up. He said, you know, I can't expect you to remember if America was founded in July 4th, 1775. You know, I can't expect you to remember that. But if I teach you how to look it up, that was an erroneous conclusion, by the way. But if I can teach you how to look things up, you can spend the time in the library and you'll be able to get factual information. And the one thing that he taught us was, whenever you do anything, you need verification. You need footnotes. You need proof. You need evidence. And when it comes to global warming, this is one of the problems, because people will take things out of context. So getting back to Mr. Hogan, he really had an influence on me. And the biggest advantage that we have today is the internet. I mean, I Google just about everything. And it's almost at the point where you have to, because I don't trust anybody. Now, getting back to my buddy, Uncle Joe. Oh wait, before I do that, I'm gonna read something else, so just bear with me. And I'm gonna read an article, and it's about how we know global warming is real. And I mean, there's a million of these. But the first thing you wanna do is, whenever you look at an article on global warming, Judy, you gotta go up or I gotta come down, somebody. Whenever you wanna look at an article on global warming, the most important thing is the author. Who wrote it? Did Uncle Joe write it? Or did Judy from Nebraska write it? And Judy from Nebraska is gonna be another fictional character that I'm gonna use that just makes things up. So anyway, I'm gonna read this, and this is from, it's an article, and on January 27, 2012, the Wall Street Journal ran an opinion editorial, an op-ed, written by 16 people who deny the evidence of human-induced climate change. Most of the authors in the editorial were not climate scientists. One of two actual climate scientists of the group, Richard Lindzen, is a notorious global warming denier who also denies that smoking causes cancer. Can you imagine that? Denies smoking causes. Anyway, predictably, the Rupert Murdoch-owned journal refused to run a statement by 255 members of the National Academy of Sciences. Although a letter to the editor by 38 of the world's leading climate scientists did manage to get published there. The letter pointed out numerous lies, mistakes, and fallacies in the editorial, along with a scathing rebuke by climate scientist Kevin Trenberth, whose remarks were quoted out of context to make them seem the exact opposite of what he was saying. And as if to answer the editorial, the Earth sent a resounding message in reply. On February 2nd, 2012, an 18-mile crack appeared in the Pine Island Glacier in Antarctica. And they say, you know, take a look at the picture that follows. But once again, what I'm trying to point out is Rupert Murdoch owned paper, and they want to deny this. Why do they want to deny global warming? It's simple. Because if they admit that they're causing global warming, then if they admit it's happening, then we have to fix it. And if we have to fix it, we have to pay to have it fixed. And the way that we expect to have it fixed is to take the profits from the company and fix the problem. But the corporations don't see things that way. They think it's more important that the shareholders should enjoy the profits and that the profit shouldn't go to fix the problem. And this is the dilemma that we're faced with in this country. I mean, some of the stuff that's going on is just sad. And, you know, with Thanksgiving coming up and Black Friday and, you know, all the stuff that I've been hearing about Walmart and, you know, just the corporation structure in the United States, it's just, it's shameful. It's sad what's going on here. And, but anyway, what seems to be lacking is there's no journalistic integrity anymore. I mean, people say stuff, and then instead of, if they get caught making a mistake, instead of apologizing, what they'll do is they'll pretend they didn't say it. And that's why I call the Republican Party confusionists, not conservatives, confusionists. Why? Because the thing is, they have to create doubt. And it's almost, you know, getting back to the guy, the climate denier, who was a professor from MIT. Anybody that can be bought. And, you know, I don't know what his price was, but, you know, there's a percentage of climate deniers that are out there, and he's one of them. And the other thing, you know, when I told you people will perpetuate, you know, the fact that they want to make this a hoax, the people on Fox, I call them Foxstitutes. Yeah, Foxstitutes. And you know why? Because they sell their soul. They have no integrity whatsoever. And it's such a shame. And you know, I do have to say one thing. I almost fell out of my chair today. I was watching Stuart Varney on guest hosting the Cavuto show, and he actually talked about a carbon tax. And I said, what? This is the one thing that you guys have denied forever. And now you're going to accept the tax? Well, they want this in lieu of, you know, paying more than 36.5%. They don't want to go up to 36.9 on the personal. So now it seems like global warming is going to become a real event. So anyway, getting back to my buddy Joey, you know, when I challenge him, and we're going to put up the actual blog, and we might need some camera help on the other side. So Judy, I hate to do this to you, but if you can fix that camera there, we might have to go to the other side because, Mike, if you can bring up camera 2 or camera 3. Uh-oh. They didn't fall asleep, did they?
Mike's trying to figure out how to do it, or he did do it.
Push the number 3 button. No, not that one. No, the other one over there.
He said,
Mike, you with me?
what camera do you want? Rick?
I think that's camera 3.
Just a second.
So, no, he's got to hit it. You're going to knock you got to keep your thing on. Mike, on the control panel, if you just hit camera 3. He did, and nothing happened?
He did.
Try camera 1. Maybe you're in the preview mode.
All right, I'm gonna move over to one of the cameras.
Okay. But he's got to change that on the, no, that camera, don't go to that one. You got to go to that one. There we go. Yay! But you're going to have to pan down. Or tilt down, sorry. Pan is, all right, but right now, just keep it where it is. All right? All right, guys, so this is an actual internet blog that I participated with my buddy Joe, Uncle Joe. Don't zoom in too close, Judy. All right, but I'm going to read the top article. And I say, Joe, I'm not going to call the Republican Party candidate Mitt Romney anymore. From now on, he will be called Flip Flopney. Bada bing. I love scutching him, you know. Joe, you told me you agreed that global warming was happening, didn't you? How can you be a member of the Confucianist Republican Party and agree that global warming is happening? Are you pulling another flip-flopney on me? Joe's response was, Rich, you keep proving me correct about you liberal effing nut jobs. Just because I said that I agree with the stats that the globe is warming does not automatically mean that I agree with your position on what it's caused by. I sent you the specific dat, and that must be data. My reply to him was, data? What data? Joe, you can't admit the globe is warming and not believe in global warming. Do you realize what a dyslexic position that is? You sound like I said a retard, but I should have rephrased that. What's your problem, Joe? You can't be for something and against it at the same time. Who do you think you are, Flip-Flopney? John, so my buddy Joe writes back, what? Listen to yourself, Rich, clown ass. My response, Joe, I may be a clown, but you're a joke. You're a funny guy. You keep saying you're going to provide data against global warming, but where is it? Again, you're bullshitting everybody who reads your posts. Everyone knows you live on Bullshit Mountain. Now, by me referring to Bullshit Mountain, I hope you all understand that it's a reference from Jon Stewart. And Jon Stewart says that the Republican conservatives live on BS Mountain. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna move a little bit ahead now. So Joe writes into me as proof in data. And can you go up to the post that has, there you go, the one with the CO2. Beautiful, right there, Candy. So Joe writes in, does CO2 correlate with temperature history? A look at multiple time scales in the context of, and it looks like a $. All right? Without responding, Joe writes another thing. 10 myths of global warming. All right, so my reply to Joe was, Joe, when you post an article like this, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what is the credibility of the author? Is he a climate scientist? Has he written peer-reviewed articles? Does he have an agenda? Joe, this study you're presenting, and I can't bring it up because I have to be honest with you, Joe deleted this post after everything is said and done, so I'm glad I printed it. Because if I didn't print it, hey Mike, if you want, you can flip back between 2 and 3 so that you can get my ugly mug and then we can flip back to the, hey, now we're getting somewhere. All right, so anyway, so once again, Joe wrote The Global Warming Myth. And it's an ABC News article. Mike, if you go back, then we can show that. But my response was, Joe, in regard to the 10 myths, did you read this shit before you posted it? Again, you're giving me a source with no author. You would think that after a while you would start to catch on. But you keep proving to all the readers that you don't give, and then I can't say what else, but again I answered, in regard to the article written by John Stossel, it's hearsay and innuendo, and you're providing it as evidence. Joe, in any court of law, they'd throw your ass out in the street. Joe, when you start providing evidence from the National Academy of Sciences or other reputable organizations, then I'll start to listen to you. But when you present a 5-year-old entertainment piece as evidence, you're a butthole. Joe, once again, you've been duped, and you've proved that providing the evidence you have, you've been duped, and you prove it by providing the evidence that you have. Joe, I want to thank you. From now on, when people say to me, people can't be stupid enough to believe this shit, I'll show them this post. Thanks. And now here's the thing. Now Joe's a dynamite guy. He's a salt of the earth type of guy. You know, when the chips are down, you want Joe in the foxhole with you. But the problem is, Joe, like so many other people, has been misled. Why? Because there are people out there, there are news organizations out there that have an agenda. And this is why I'm here, because this bullshit's got to stop. It's just got to stop, folks. I mean, they're doing nothing good for anybody. The deception. So now, let's take a deeper look at what Joe had. And we're going to go to what's called, first he said the 10 myths. Right? Did I get that right? Yeah. No, the first one was, I got all screwed up here. No, that's the Johnson. Okay, yeah. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the global warming myth. And Val, in the meantime, would you be kind enough, behind, on the clipboard, behind it is a graph. It's going to be a graph that's been referred to as the hockey stick. Can you just put it on there and all right, so these are the 10 myths of global warming that Joe has sent me. And once again, there's no author. It was probably written by Judy from Nebraska. How are we making out over there? Hey, we got a crack crew over here, I tell you. Judy's a tiger. All right, in the meantime, while they're getting that set up, myth number 1, global warming temperatures are rising at a rapid, unprecedented rate. Fact, accurate satellite, balloon, and mountaintop observations made over the last decades have not shown any significant change in the long-term rate of increase in global temperatures. Average ground station readings do show a mild warming of 0.6 to 0.8 cover the last 100 years, which is well within the natural variations recorded in the last millennium. The ground station network suffers from an uneven distribution across the globe. The stations are preferentially located in growing urban and industrial areas, heat islands as they're called, which show substantially higher readings than adjacent rural areas. Well, folks, that's not true. When you're taking global measurements, you have to measure the whole globes. And the heat islands that they're referring to are cities. Manhattan's a heat island. Guess what? It generates a lot of heat. And that heat contributes to the warming pattern in this section, but it adds globally. And that's the one thing that we have to keep in mind. This is global warming. This is not climate. This is not specific parts. This is the whole globe. We're all in this together. We screw this up, we're going to end up like Venus. But anyway, myth number 2, and I heard this on Glenn Beck the other day, and I was flabbergasted. Myth number 2, the hockey stick. The hockey stick graph proves that the Earth has experienced a steady, very gradual temperature increase for 1,000 years, then recently began a sudden increase. Fact. Significant changes in climate have continually occurred throughout the geologic time. For instance, the medieval warm period from 1000 to 1200 AD, when the Vikings farmed on Greenland, was followed by a period known as the Little Ice Age. Since the end of the 17th century, the average global temperature has been rising at the low, steady rate mentioned above, although from 1940 to 1970, temperatures actually dropped, leading to a global cooling scare. Now, Mike, I would like you to put up the other graph, please. There we go. All right. Now, folks, take a look at the blue line running from left to right, and you'll notice that it appears to go kind of in almost a flat rate. I mean, it's got its variations. It goes up and down. But do you notice right about where it gets to the late 1900s? Bada bing. Look at where we're going. I mean, now, if you were to think of a hockey stick, now think of the hockey stick laying down flat on the ground, pointing up in the air. So you've got the long shaft of the hockey stick, and then you've got the point that sticks up. Once again, we got the long hockey stick with the point that sticks up, okay? Now, that's as plain as the nose on my face, maybe even plainer. So how in the world can anybody say that the hockey stick has been disproved? The only way they can do it is to say it. And if you don't do your homework, and if you don't look it up, you tend to believe them. This is why the people on Fox News are the most misinformed of all the TV audiences. Because, it's like the computer terminology, garbage in, garbage out. And yesterday, I ran into a buddy of mine, he's a pizza guy, and he goes, Rich, all I watch is Fox News. I said, Joe, we need to go out. We need to spend some time together because, you've been duped. All right, now, the other thing that Joe pointed out too, he also used ABC News. John Stossel used to work for ABC News, and he could lie good enough, so now he's employed by Fox. He can look right into the camera and tell you that blue is green, white is blue. It doesn't matter. They don't care. And I think what happens is after a while, they start telling the same story over, that even they start to believe it. I mean, it's sad. But here we go. Now, this is John Stossel's piece on the global warming myth. The end is not near. Instead of panicking over climate change, learn to adjust to it. What do you mean, learn to adjust to it? You want me to go out and get extra beach balls? I mean, come on. The heavy breathing over global warming is enough to terrify anyone. Last week, the Washington Post, and if I'm not mistaken, another Rupert Murdoch newspaper, the Washington Post interviewed a 9-year-old who said the Earth is just starting to fade away. In 20 years, there will be no oxygen, he said, and he'll be dead. The Post went on to say that for many children and young adults, global warming is defining their generation. How sad. Now, this is Stossel. Then he throws a little dig, watch my show, ba-da-ba. But is global warming crisis a myth? Read on. Excerpts from Myth, Lies, and Downright Stupidity, coming out in paperback May 1st. Another plug. These guys make money on everything. They print it, someone will buy it. And what amazes me is these guys they sell these books, and I mean, they're on the Amazon best-selling list. And I'm saying, how could, Glenn Beck writes a book every other day. How could everybody buy all these people read all these books? And I'm saying to myself, no. They give them to other people to put on their coffee table, and, oh, I see you got a, oh, yeah, great book. Haven't read it, but it's a great book, and it's terrific conversation. But anyway, so they don't stop. So anyway, again, myth. Global warming will cause huge disruptions in climate, more storms, and the coast will flood. America must sign the Kyoto Treaty. The Kyoto Treaty came about, it was in Japan, where all the countries in the Interplanetary Panel on Climate Change agreed that, hey, we got to start doing something. And when China agrees that it's time to start doing something, when you get a communist country that says it's time to start doing things for the common good of the people, and even though Fox News will say, well, they're building a new coal plant every week. Yes, they are. They're building one new coal plant every week, but they're the new coal plants. They're where they turn the coal into a gas before it's burnt. It's a lot more efficient. And the better news is, for each new plant that they build, they decommission an old one. So they take out the old ones that were really burning all the fossil fuels. So if a communist country can do that, a socialist country like ours can do the same thing. I'm going to ruffle some feathers with that. Hey, you know what? I think we forgot to hook the phone up. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Val, you want to jump? Val's going to jump on that. All right. Let me get back to, so myth number one, the earth is warming. John's reply, truth, the earth is warming. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change said the global average surface temperature increased by 0.6 degrees Celsius over the 20th century. Myth number two, the earth is warming because of us. Maybe. The frantic media suggest, and notice the way he puts in the frantic media. He just can't say the media. He's got to juice it up a little bit, okay? So the frantic media suggests it's all about us, but the IPCC only said it is likely that we have increased the warming. Likely. Well, that's like saying ivory snow is 99.46% pure. Guess what? That's pretty goddamn pure. So if they say it's happening, they're not saying it's happening because they're making it up. Are we on? You're all right, kid. Thanks. All right, we're going to try to get the phone number up on the screen now. And what a team, huh? All right, so anyway, getting back to the truth part. Our climate has always undergone changes. Greenland was named Greenland because its coasts used to be very green. It's presumptuous to think humans' impact matters so much in comparison to the frightening geological history of the Earth. And who is to say that last year's temperature is the perfect optimum? Warming may be better. More people died in cold waves than heat waves. Can you believe this? There will be storms. Myth. There will be storms, flooded coasts, and huge disruptions in climate. Truth. There are always storms and floods. Will there be bigger disruptions in climate? Probably not. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see John Stossel go down to the people on Staten Island and tell them that he thinks these storms are never going to get bigger. What people don't understand is that the atmosphere is like a sponge. And what happens is, and most people will admit to this, when you watch a hurricane on the news, let's say there's a hurricane in the Atlantic and it's crossing Florida and it's going, and the newscaster, the weatherman will always say, and as the hurricane gets into the open waters of the Gulf, the warm waters of the Gulf, it'll increase in intensity, and it'll become a greater hurricane and probably increase in value, go from a Hurricane 3 to a Hurricane 4. So what we're doing is, by warming up the globe, we're just making a bigger sponge. Have you noticed that when it rains so damn hard? I mean, look at all those covered bridges. Yay, hey, we're live on somebody call me, I don't care. My mother was still alive, she'd call a rumpf. All right, so anyway, now getting back to what Joe had said earlier, and he posted another thing, does CO2 correlate with the temperature of history? And what had happened is John Coleman, who used to be the weatherman for Good Morning America, and he actually started the Weather Channel. He's a global warming denier. I mean, that's what he does. I don't know how much he gets paid, but he did an hour-long movie. It's on YouTube, and most of these things are on YouTube, so don't be shy. I mean, start to look and start to search, and that's why I have the question mark on my hat, you know, because I want you to challenge everything. Especially when you're watching Fox News, I want you to sit there with a computer on your lap so you can virtually Google everything they say. Now, so, you know, getting back with John Coleman, once again, you can watch him, and it's a shame. It's a shame. And Richard Liston, that we spoke about earlier, he's a PhD from MIT. I mean, you don't get any smarter. I mean, these guys are the cream of the crop. And why are they climate deniers? Because I'm sure there's a buck in it. Now, most people are going to say, Rich, how are you so sure that you're right about global warming and climate change? And I'll run you through the scenario that I use to validate the evidence that I'm about to present. If you wanted to find out about climate change, who would you ask? You want to ask a climate scientist, am I correct? Right? I mean, you don't want to ask a physicist, you don't want to ask a chemist, you don't want to ask a scientist that studies earthworms or geologic fall. You want to reference a scientist that's a climate scientist. That's what he does. And you want to get a climate scientist that writes peer-reviewed journals. It's really simple. There's one thing about scientists, aside from being extremely brilliant, they have a tough time communicating naturally. I mean, they're just kind of like, you know, on the next plane. So sometimes it's like they're talking a different language. But the beauty of it is they love to try to prove each other wrong. So what happens is when they make evaluations and they present a study, you can bet that these guys have not only done their homework, but they've done it over and over and over again, because the evidence they want to present has to be flawless. And the only way that you can get flawless evidence is to do the same thing over and over again.
You have a phone call, Rich.
I do. Okay. Uh-oh. 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 Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Testing. Hello? Yeah. Hey, call back if you... Shit. What do I do now? All right, somebody, all right, I'm gonna try. Hello, can you hear me? Testing. Oh, I think I shut them off. Hello? Ay, ay, ay. All right,
Pick it up and hang it up.
all right, wait. Now, one line is ringing.
One line is ringing. It's not ringing, it's not ringing.
All right, line 1 is ringing. I'm pressing the button. I'm pushing the speaker. Hello?
Hello.
Holy moly. How are you?
Married with children like most everybody else.
I'm sorry, you said very what?
I said I'm married with children. Do yourself a favor, look at the camera.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. I'm trying to, yeah.
I know, I understand. I direct shows over there, so. But
Oh, is that right?
Get the camera.
Okay.
Camera. Honest engine, look at the camera.
I'm looking.
Good.
How's that?
There
More
you are.
more better?
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. It's good. Yeah, there's another good idea.
What's that?
Taking glasses off. It's nice to see someone with a more progressive point of view rather than some of the more increasingly conservative points of view. Thank you for that. Do yourself another favor, honest, is your hat, put it down in front of you and back the camera out
Oh,
because the hat's blocking your face. So,
the hat's blocking my face.
yes.
See, if I take my hat off, I'm afraid I'm going to bust the camera with the glare. You know, I need powder.
So what? Better to see your head or not see your face?
Maybe, Judy, maybe you could back out a little bit. You know?
Okay, I just wanted to call.
What?
I wanted to thank you for your startup.
I got it. I'm sorry.
We've met before, so you have a good night. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, thanks for calling in, and thanks for your advice, because I can use it. Believe me. All right. Thanks again.
No problem.
Now what? I think we got another call. Nope. Okay. I think we're a one-call show. Okay. All right. Oh, now getting back. Not to get cocky or anything, but you always look for what you consider to be the Holy Grail, and I believe I found it. And anybody that wants to challenge it is more than. Okay. Now, the article. 2 minutes left. That's it. Holy mackerel! You sure?
That's what Mike says.
Okay. Anyway, guys. So I was saying. So we want to look. If we're gonna look to somebody, we want to ask a climate scientist. And where do we want to get a climate scientist? Well, why don't we look at the most prestigious universities and learning centers in the country? And in 2010, the National Association, I'm sorry, 1 minute? She's speeding up the clock. But anyway, the National Academy of Sciences conducted a study. And if you Google it, you can read it yourself. But what they determined was that 97.3% of the climate scientists not only agreed that global warming was happening, but that it was man-made. And when you've got a consensus of 97% of the scientists, you don't need anything else. So stop looking at all the stuff that you see posted on the internet. Stop listening to Uncle Joe. Stop listening to Judy from Nebraska. Before you look at anything, look who authored it. Look when it was written. Make sure it wasn't produced by the same company that produces all the fossil fuels that we have to stop burning. And the fossil fuels are what's causing the problem. Because by putting the carbon in the air, we're trapping the sunlight as it comes back, and we're causing the greenhouse effect. And look what happened in Jersey, Connecticut, and in New York. And to my Republican buddies, I'm with you guys. Really, I'm with you. I love you. Tom Murphy, Joe, I love you guys. Don't worry about it. Hey, the hot chocolate's still hot. I got you covered. How did we do, Judy?
You did swell.
Yeah, I love you laughing in the background. Mike, this clock says 10 to 8. Are you sure? Doesn't that clock say 10 to 8?
It does. This clock says 10 to 8. Just keep rolling. He said, just keep rolling.
Did he really say that?
He really said that.
Yeah, this says 7:51.
You need time for credits, Mike.
Oh, we got a call. Oh,
We got a call.
perfect timing. Now let me try to make sure I don't screw this up. Press that, press that. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Hi, how are you?
Hi?
Who's this?
Good?
No, what's your name?
Cassandra?
Cassandra. I love that name. You sound like a little girl. Are you a little girl?
Yes.
Cassandra, that's a big name for a little girl. You must be very fortunate.
Good job.
Cassandra, you still there?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think of the show?
You're doing a good job.
Oh, thank you. Hey, do you know what I have on my hat? Do you know what that is?
A question mark.
Very good. And do you know why I have a question mark on my hat?
No.
Because as you grow up in life, I want you to question everything. When somebody tells you something, I want you to look them in the eye and say, are you telling me the truth? And I mean, I want you to be serious. And as you go through life, I want you to understand,
Okay.
and I want you to Google just about everything. I mean, you have a wonderful opportunity. And if you use everything that's if you use all the tools and everything that your teachers teach you at school, and if you keep an open mind, and if you study and if you Google everything, you're going to be very smart.
Okay. Thank you for the show. Good job.
Thank you, Cassandra. Thanks for calling.
I'm from Occupy Danbury.
You are? Hey, I'm glad you brought that up, and you know why? Because Occupy...
Where's my mom?
Okay. The reason why I'm...
Rita's doing.
What's that?
Rita's doing.
Readers? Oh, okay. Okay.
You didn't speak.
Okay. Well, anyway, the reason why I'm glad that you brought up Occupy is Occupy is starting to do something that is very beneficial for everybody. I just heard about this on Friday. It was on the Young Turks. And what he said was that Occupy is starting to buy the distressed loans that the banks are willing to sell for pennies on the dollar. So what Occupy is doing is they're buying portfolios of people that are soon to be in bankrupt or will be in bankruptcy, and they're virtually bailing the people out for pennies on the dollar. I know, isn't this great? Now, the way this works is, it's from a blind pool, and they're trying to help people that are facing bankruptcy primarily due to, because of health reasons. So once we get Obamacare in place, we won't have to worry about this because nobody will have to lose their house or everything that they worked for so that an insurance company can take it away so that we can pay for our insurance. So we have to make sure, and I'm telling you this, it's beautiful because now you don't have the vultures, calling up people trying to wring more money out of them when they don't have it. And once those people's debts have been relieved, now they can take the money that they're not worried about, that they don't hanging over their shoulder, and they can start to contribute it to other things to help buy other people's debt. And it's almost going to be like it was in Europe. You know, the way the debt machine works, and I explained this in the first show, it's impossible to pay off the debt. It's just impossible. Once the debt accumulates, we're on a treadmill. And that's why the credit card, that's why the banks want to give you the unsolicited credit cards, because they want you to miss a payment so that you have to pay them interest, and they can, so the 1% just benefits. Okay, 1 minute and 30 seconds. Got it. Very informal, Judy. So anyway, what Occupy is going to do is they're going to buy these loans, these portfolio loans, and they're going to extinguish them. And people say, well, the Occupy movement's dead. It didn't. Hey, let me tell you, this is something that can change the country. And if everybody gets on board with this, and I believe right now that the best place that you might be able to go to see this on the net is it's called Strike Debt. But if you Google Strike Debt, you're going to see, and what you can do is you can sign up, you can contribute if you'd like, and just think, if you were to make a contribution, and if you were to help get somebody out of debt, you'd be their hero. And isn't that says 10 minutes, you're going backwards. 30 seconds, all right. Guys, hey,
10 seconds.
10 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Hey, my Republican buddies, one more time.
2.
Cheers.